Hi team, once again I welcome you all to the AI/ML with Kapil part. Yesterday we discussed about the types of data, where we discussed that there are major four types of data. One we consider as a number, second is text, third is like audio part, and fourth is the visual, which include the pics and the videos. Then we found out that everything we should convert into the numbers, and then those numbers we can use to make the types of models which are really going to help us like to take the data driven decision for the industries and all. Then we decided that from today onwards we'll start reading about some soft skills in the Python. So Python is the major language which we are going to use throughout this course. I'll just let you know. So this may be a basic. So if you are pro or if you are already in the stream, you can skip this video. This video is purely for the beginners. So team, this is what is the Python's website, python.org. You can directly go there. You can go to the download and then download based on whatever the operating system which you are using, maybe Windows, Mac OS X. And if you are on the Linux, then you can directly go and you can download the source code, or you can install using sudo apt get install python 3 or whatever the version which you want to go with. So latest version is 3.8.5, which is running in the market. So this will just download the basic Python programming language in your console. Later on there are several packages which you need to install additional, which we will talk later on. But this package is of size around 40 MB or maybe around 50 MB. So this has the core Python language parts are involved within this. We'll discuss that what is meaning by the core and what are other libraries and all in some couple of minutes. Also, like we have a second option. If you are on a really very good computer where you have the RAM which is more than 8 GB, I say, then you can directly go for the Anaconda distribution. So what Anaconda distribution does is, so if you go to the Anaconda site, anaconda.com, you can go to the products. In products you need to select this individual edition, because this is the one which is open source and free for everyone. So go to the Anaconda individual edition. Then what you can see here, you have the download button. The moment you click on download button, this automatically identifies like which operating system you are working on. So it will give you the option. So I'm just clicking here. Yeah. So you have the download for the Windows, Mac OS and Linux. Okay. So just for the sake, you can just go with the first option, like 64-bit, or either if you have the 32-bit of Windows, then you can go with 32-bit of Windows. Otherwise you should just select this graphical installer if you are not so good in this command prompt line. If you are like you have some hand on your CMD or the terminal, you can definitely go with this command line installers. Okay, now we'll just see that what the things are included in this. So the moment I say that like the Python is an open source language, like anyone can download it or anyone can use it, it's free of availability. Now Anaconda package, if you just have seen, the size of those packages were around 400 MB. So what's different between this and the Python flavor, where Python is just 40 to 50 MB of software, while this is almost 10x of that. So this has two major important things. One is the Conda package. So generally when we are going with the Python, we download it using the pip package, but this Anaconda has developed their own Conda package using which you can download the libraries, external libraries. At the same time, this has internal manage environment function, which will be used like when you are developing on some tool, like you are working parallel 2-3 projects, and where every project has some separate dependencies of versions, then definitely you can create your separate environment within that and you can work like that. So this is a bit of different thing which I don't expect you to focus it on right now. We'll definitely discuss it whenever the time will come. Now if you see it here, so this what says that build machine learning models. So these all are like the most of the packages, where Jupyter, Spider, these both are the, I can say that the IDEs on which you can go and you can type your code, whereas the SciPy, NumPy, sklearn, TensorFlow, PyTorch, Conda, Matplotlib, they all are the libraries. So if you go with the Anaconda, you have all such libraries which you are going to use throughout your this course will already be downloaded and pre-configured in your system. So you can just click, you can download, install, and you can start working. You no need to download a separate package. But what the difference here is, like if you are having a computer which doesn't has more than 8 GB of RAM, like you may be having the 4 GB RAM of your computer. So always remember that for a single project we won't be requiring PyTorch, TensorFlow, Numba or Conda, all these things, correct? We would be working on some 2-3 packages at a time. So in such a case, you can just download the basic of Python, and then you can additionally install those 2-3 libraries which we are going to use. So in that case, you can optimize your memory, RAM, and then you can still work on your basic existing computers. But if you have a good computer, then you should definitely go with this. Also, as it's a open source community, so within that they have the discussion forum and everything, so you can just go and ask the questions and all, or they are keep on supporting, they will keep provide you the updates and all. But yeah, there is one more important thing, that if you see here that the latest version of Python is 3.8.5, whereas if you just go and check it here, they will give you 3.8, but it will not be the 3.8.5. okay, it will be 3.8.3 right now. So it's always like it's there is a delay, because the moment they got that Python version, they will make all these things compatible with that version, and then they will release this overall package. So will always be like a bit delta from the whatever the existing market or whatever the new things are available in the market. Okay, but yeah, still it has an good thing. If you have a good computer, you can just download this thing, and you won't be have to take some further steps for creating some new environment or for downloading some additional libraries. And either though, like if you want to install, there are some graphical user interface to download the new libraries, so that's also makes things easy. Now the third part is like if you want to do this coding in your mobile, definitely you can do that. So the Google has brought out that feature, so that what we call is a Google Colab. So what does Google Colab does is, this is the URL colab.research.google.com. Once you will open this, you will see this types of part where you can just go and, like, suppose I'm gonna open a new notebook for me, correct? So like it will just take some couple of minutes and it will generate an instance. So what instance is basically, instance means like now this is my Python file, like I can just go and I can just start my coding there. I can create a code or the text. This again we will discuss in the later on, but yeah, this is an environment. If you see, it's right now connecting, like let's click to connect. It's allocating you a computer. Yep. So what it does basically, till the time it connect, I'll let you know that. So this moment when we hit on this URL, we are requesting Google that on your cloud you just provide me a single instance on which I can go and I can create my a bit of computer, if you say, and I can code there. So now if you see, this Google has provided me a computer which is of the 12 gigs of RAM, and also the 100 GB of you can say the hard disk space. So you can go, you can store your files up to 100 GB there, but yeah, 30 GB is already occupied because they have the built-in Linux within that in the backend, and also they have installed the Python version with TensorFlow and everything there. So if you directly see, I just type here the basic command, say print hello, and the moment I run it, yeah, just see hello. So also what are the benefits of this Google and what are the merits and the demerits, if we discuss both the things, then if you see here, just go there, go to the notebook setting, and yeah, you can take the help of GPU and TPU. So GPU is the like the graphical processing unit, so you may not be like have this feature in your computer because this is a hardware dependent thing. So if you don't have GPU and if you want have some heavy task on the images and all these things, so you can definitely come here, you can mark it as a GPU and you can use it. So the moment you select GPU, again you will be reconnected with a new instance which has the GPU part. Also you can connect with the TPU, which is the tensor processing unit if you are working on the TensorFlow. So Google provides you all these options. So now when it is that good that it has the zero load on my computer, because I'm going to use the RAM, hard disk, GPU, TPU, whatever, this all are going to run on the computer of Google's. So what are the best and the bad things about it? So good thing is like everything is free. You can use the GPU. You no need to install Python on your own system. Third thing, even if you close this tab and your program is running, it will be keep on running on their system. Now coming to the demerits. What are the demerits? So one thing is like still the RAM is limited. Second thing, this instance will be down after 9 hours. So you cannot keep it running longer than the 9 hours. So if you are working on some small projects which doesn't require that long training time, then you can definitely come here and you can work on that. So suppose if you are making some very basic models which just take the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or maybe even the 5 hours of training, you can just do those things here, correct? But if your model is that huge and if you are reading a lot of things and you want to run it on that longer time, then it will take time. Second thing is about the CPU core. So it has just the single core processor in the backend which is running, which will not help you out in doing the parallel processing. So this will take a time in your input and output process, and even while processing the models and all. So these are the two drawbacks about this Google. But yeah, still for this course, when till the time we are on the basic and with the moderate modes of usage with the basic models and all, you can definitely go and you can use this thing out. So these are the three methods by which you can just go and you can start using this method. So now we are discuss about the IDEs. So what are IDEs? So this is the IDE. Okay, this print hello Python, this is just like if I just go and I show the codes. Okay, so if I just tell you that then what is the basic Python, let me show you in my VS Code. So yep, now you are able to see the VS Code here. So let me open the create a new file. I'm just creating a new file and the file name is like the test.py. so py extension represents that it's a Python file. So I hope like you guys are able to see, or let me just increase the size. So I hope now it's visible to you all, correct? Yeah, so I'm just writing here print hello. Okay, and then I'm running this file. So look, this is what is the terminal, correct? This terminal is representing here, like this is what my folder is. So within that part, I'm just, if suppose I just write Python 3 and I hit an enter, this is what is my basic Python. So I'm using right now the 3.8.2 version here in my system. So if you doesn't install any of your IDE, then you need to just go to your command prompt and you can just use your Python like this. But like writing here, it's not that good. Like have some, okay, let me just again write the simple command, which is print hello. Okay, but this is not as good as it should be. So what we use is we use the IDE, which is the environmental development code, integrated development environment. So this IDE are like this VS Code, Visual Studio Code, which I am using right now. Also, like we have the several different type of parts, which we call it as a Jupyter Notebook, one thing. So your Jupyter Notebook just exactly looks like this, where you have the line-wise development part, where you can go each and every line and you can just run that particular part. Okay, but the second part, which we called, is a script method. So script method, as I just represented you in this my VS Code part. So this is what is a script, where I'm writing just some commands. So print hello, then print welcome to me, correct? And the moment I run it, just see, look, this has generated this two-line output, the hello and the where am I. And let me just erase it out and rerun the file so that you can see it easily. Just look that. Hello and welcome to the AML with Kapil. Okay, so this is what we call is a scripting method, because after all, like I can run this .py for my production purposes. But yeah, definitely the moment when we are there, we use the Jupyter Notebook. What I prefer is I prefer this Visual Studio Code, and the reason for this is like I can create here the py file. Also, if I want to create, I'm just clicking on the new part and creating test1.ipynb. So ipynb is the format for your Jupyter Notebook. The moment I click it here, yeah, it will open a Jupyter server, and then I'll be able to use my Jupyter Notebook here. Just look, it's a trusted, it's a Jupyter server local connected. Local means like it is gonna use my local computer's RAM and memory. Like either we have here the option that if we are working on some higher level server, so I can just connect it from that server, so it will use that server's RAM, but still I'll be seeing this and I'll be creeping my code here. Okay, so this also has the same feature, like I have this part to run myself. So I'll just write it down here, the code, which is says the print hello. The moment I run it, so I run it using the shift and the enter command. When you click shift and enter, it will create one more new cell and it will generate the output. Now what is good thing in this is like why I prefer this. So just let me tell you, I say hello 1, I am typing the another line which says the hello 2, then I write one another thing which is the hello 3. Okay, if you run in your Jupyter Notebook like this, you will just see the whole 3 outputs. So what exactly I want to convey is like the moment when you are running this entire cell, it's printing, like it's executing all these 3 lines, or the bunch of those statements will be executed in a single throw. But what if I want to run each and every line? So I'll just come and click it on here. Okay, so this is what it shows, the variables about the part. If I have the variable, I can just go and I can check the variables also, and if you want you can just hide the variable. Now yeah, now I am on this line, correct? So I can run this cell. So the moment I run this, just a second, I run it, it shows me that first line executed and that's output was hello. Again, the moment I click on this play button, it shows that the second line run, that's output was hello 2, and third line is giving me the hello 3. Correct? So now I'll tell you what exactly it means is, so suppose a was equals to 2, then I say a equal to 2 plus 3, then I say a is equals to a into a. Okay, now if you have the Jupyter notebook and at the end when I say print a, okay, now just see the magic. Yeah, Jupyter will tell you that this is 25, but what if I want to see what is happening at each and every line, correct? I just clicked on this. So now when I click first, the a was 2, then I click second, the a was 2 plus 3, then I clicked on this a. So you can just open here the variable explorer and then you will be able to see the variable. Yeah, so let's just go back to that part. Yeah, so I'm coming here, I'm starting from here only, so I'll just stop this part, I'll rerun this part from here. Okay, so let's start it from here. So the moment I run this, just check what is the value of a is 2. Yeah, right now a is 2. The moment I run it again, a equal to 2 plus 3, which becomes 5, then I run it again, then a equal to a plus 5, then becomes it 25. So by doing these steps, we can get to know that what we are doing at each and every step. So that's very helpful for developing the large size of codes. And even when you are a beginner, like you have a good command, like you can see that what's happening at each and every step, what's happening even in the loops and all these things. So that's how it help it out. Okay, so that's why like I prefer using this thing, because making these variables, using the each and every line of cell, and even like when you want you can just hide those cells or you can rerun those cells. Also, like you can change this thing to markdown. Now what is markdown? So suppose I have wrote here a comment, so my a is equals to 25. So suppose I want to make a comment out of it, correct? So the moment when I click on this markdown cell and run it, this becomes just as a statement in between. So while developing these products, I can just write my comments after that, like okay, this is my conclusion after my this step. Now coming to a part when we have this type of scripting language where I can go and do everything, why we develop these types of IPYNB like the Python notebooks. The reason behind this is the Python notebooks really help you out by doing a stepwise programming. So here I run this one part, then I run the second part. So in data science, our most of the things depends on like what is the output of my previous statement. That will only trigger that what should be my next statement. What should be my next strategy for doing, what model should I use, which hyperparameter we should tune in. So that's why we use these types of Python notebooks where I run this part, then where this conclusion used. So suppose I run this part, then I'll make a conclusion. So actually I write it there, so that even after I look for this notebook after 2 months, 3 months, I remember that why I took this decision after this part. Okay, so that's how this markdown really helps you out. So markdown still has its own total language. So if you see that if I click it, this is my heading 1, then this is my heading 2, then this is my suppose heading 3. So you have all these types of just sorry, I put the caps lock, correct? So yeah, so you can see that you can put the different types of headings and all these things there. Okay, and also if you want to convert this or share this thing, we have the export button. You can just export it in the terms of, okay, so this is the good thing here. So suppose I created a model, now I want to convert it to the script file, which is .py. Just by clicking it here, I can generate the script file. I can share it as HTML page. I can share as a PDF report to someone where I want to submit my this project, correct? So these all are the benefits of this Jupyter notebook server. So again, like we'll come back to our part where we'll discuss some basics of like what are these libraries and all. So the moment when we say what is the library, okay, so suppose you have used some function within the program, correct? So I'll just write it there. Okay, so there are some I'll say the the basic input and output functions are included within the Python. Okay, when we say the print, it's printing, correct? But and also like the basic function means it has the arithmetic part, plus, minus, divide and multiply, correct? But what if I want to use a function like sum? So most of you, I'm assuming that you know the Excel, and when we do equals to sum and then select the column, it automatically provides the sum. Okay, whereas I can go and I can do the A1 plus A2 plus A3 plus A4 for adding the all like the four cells of a column, correct? So the same thing, like this type of sum function can be used, but definitely computer like computer is a dumb machine. Okay, so Python is a language which is telling computer that what to do. So before doing this, Python should also know that what is this sum, correct? So someone has to write this sum function within the program. So now just I'm going and I'm telling you that how these things are being done there. So let's come back to our part, and I'm just doing this thing in the test part right now. Okay, we'll erase this two part. I'll clear the output. Okay, and how we do is we do the function. What is this function is sum test, where I'm passing a comma b, correct? And what it should be, it should return a plus b, correct? So this is what is my function now. Now what I am going to use, I am going to use the sum test, and I am passing 2 comma 3. What will be the output of this program? This output of this program should be 5. Okay, let's see what happens when I run this program. Okay, I am not printing it out, just to wait. So let's print this step. So what will happen, it will go to the sum function, like we will discuss on later on like how these things, but yeah, it is summing up and it is giving me the 5, correct? Okay, just sorry, I think yeah, so sorry, it wasn't shared. So yeah, we just write here the definition of sum underscore test, where I'm passing a and b, like I'm adding the two numbers. So this function will just take the input of two numbers and it will return the sum of these two numbers. Okay, and now I am printing the output of this function, where I'm passing 2 and 3. The moment I ran this program, okay, it gave me the output of 5. So this is how this sum function is working. Okay, now suppose if I just write here the sum of 2 comma 3, and let's see, like will it provide me the answer? No, it gave me the error, correct? It show me error like what is this sum, and also like the int object is not iterable. So we don't know that what is exactly the definition of this sum. Similarly, there are a lot of functions which can be used, like the divide, multiplication, and these are just the simple. But if we go for the statistics like mean, mode, median, which we are going to use the frequently there, correct? So these all things are called the functions, and based on these functions we have the packages, correct? So what are these packages now? So packages are like the important packages which we are going to use will be like the NumPy. I'll just make it as a comment. Then we use the pandas, then we use the matplotlib, then we use the seaborn, then we use the scipy, then we use the sklearn, then we use the TensorFlow, we also use the datetime. Okay, and these are just few numbers of the functions which you use. Also sometimes we use the OS operating system so that we can grab some details from the computer. Okay, so how we do, we just do the import NumPy as NP. So what we are telling our computer, we are telling our computer that I am going to use this NumPy program, NumPy package I am importing, and how will I represent? I'll represent them as NP. Okay, so there are the several methods of importing something. So either you could have imported is such as, like you can only write this thing, that's also okay, import NumPy. Okay, then why we use as NP? The reason for this as NP is like whenever I say np.sum, it means we know that we are calling this sum from the NumPy package. The reason is like many packages are internally using some another package. So pandas use the NumPy, matplotlib use the pandas. Okay, so suppose if there is a conflict, if you directly call sum, then we won't be able to know that this sum is being called from NumPy or this sum is being called from the pandas if we are importing NumPy and if we are importing pandas also. So that's why we use this convention. So import numpy from np. So this time if you see, I'll just write print, then I'll ask it to np.sum, because we have the function sum there. Then I can just pass the 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6, and let's see what's the output of this program. Yeah, something 20. Just add it up. Is it ability giving 20? This is becomes 10 and this is become 20, correct? So this directly gives you the 20 output. So this is how we use the package. So we use the np. So numpy would be definitely having the sum function wrote within that. So what we are doing, we are calling the numpy script, and we are asking to use the sum function which is already written there. So this is how we are using the rewritten function. So this is what we call as a package. So we are going to use this package frequently, like this we just use as an import function. So this is what for the today. I think this is already a very last thing which we have discussed for the last 25 minutes. So what we discussed today is, we discussed that from where you can download the Python based on your computer configuration, which flavor, like which type of like source you should download. Like you can go directly with the prompt Python. You can go, if you have a very good sound or computer, then you can go with the Anaconda. And if you don't want to install Python at all in your computer system, then you can go to the Colab and you can work in there. Okay. Second thing, we discussed about the two types of different parts. One is the script language and one is the notebook type of pattern. So the script is like this .py, where I just keep on writing my code and we can show it, whereas the notebook is like this, where we have the blockwise system where I can just go to each and every cell and I can write it down. Within that, we also discussed that how we can put the headings and all these things which you call as a markdown. Okay, so that we can write it down the comment as and when required. Why we say that, we like, I'm gonna preferably use the Visual Studio Code. Whether you can do the same thing on the Jupyter Notebook, it doesn't make any sense. Like this Jupyter Notebook, this VS Codes Notebook, and even like that Google Colab, they all has the same functionality for doing such a things. Okay, so only difference is like everyone has some bit of some different flavors there within. So I like it because it has the direct font for changing the cell to markdown here only. And also like I can go and I can iterate, I can, like, it's a type of a debug which help me out, where I can go and check each and every line what they are generating out. Also I have the variable explorer here, so which I frequently use to see that what is my variable value right now, so that we can fine tune some things in the later on part. Okay, and then we understood that what is the this we call as a packages, and how we can use this package. So at the same time, I'll let you know that how we install the package. Okay, so if you are using some programs, and suppose you have downloaded the basic version of the Python, and you don't have the numpy installed, so how we will install? We will just type pip install numpy. Okay, and the moment when you enter, so this says that it's already there, so it's not doing that. Otherwise you will see it started downloading. Okay, at the same time you may see these types of warning when you are doing it first time. So what you just need to do, you just need to update your pip. Okay, so even I'm going to update my pip right now, and what it says is, I'll just make the copy out of it, and let's update our pip so that we can use the new build. So if you'll see that it has the build, wheel, all these types of functionality within this pip, which actually installs the library. It downloads from the computer, like internet. And yeah, this is the far most important thing, that whenever that you are installing the new library, you should be connected with the internet, because it's taking the source from the internet and then installing it on your computer. Okay, so this is, I think, enough for the today's session. You can just set up your computer. You can be ready with the installed your PC with the Python. And also what I request is to install all these libraries within that. So you know the methodology. The command is simple, so I'm writing here the command for you. So that is pip install, then package name. Okay, some of you may found a problem, because if there is a version conflict of Python, like if you have Python 2 installed already in your system and you are installing Python 3, then that will be represented as Python 3. In such a case, what you need to do is, you will have to write the same code but keeping the pip as pip3. So I'm just writing it here. So you will have to use pip3 in that case. So either what you can do is, you can remove that Python 2.7 version, which was the last there before installing the Python 3. And then you can use, like if you have the only one thing which is Python 3, then you can definitely use as a pip command. Otherwise you'll have to use the pip3 command, but both do the same thing. The only difference is like pip is representing the Python 2, whereas pip3 gives the pointer to that this package should be installed for the Python 3 especially. That's it. So I hope you like this video, and also like the thanks for the support, but keeps supporting me, so it will really boost our morale to provide you such an important video. So in our next lecture, what we are going to use is we are going to discuss about the different type of variable, operators and loops, and all some basics of the Python language, so that we can keep ourselves ready for doing this machine learning and all these things. Okay, I hope you like our video. If you really like, then please share it with your friends and like it and subscribe the channel. Thank you so much. Bye.